Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to AP. So let's talk real quick about some changes I've made to the channel here, and you probably noticed over the last 2 weeks with the farmhouse build is that I did one video, or three, no, I only did 2 videos of the stucco and then the details afterwards. Now the reason for me doing that is between having a full-time job and trying to do this, it leaves not a whole lot of time for me to do all of these builds in such a short time, and that's just not the way I like to do things. I like to take my time and make sure that the details are right and make sure that the build itself, the main structure, is the way I like it. So here from now on, you're probably going to see my videos of just being the main structure build and then the details following up. So that's the way things are going to be for now, and that's because of time restraints. So anyways, let's get into the main build, the spotlight for this week, and that is the mausoleum that I decided I was going to build. Now this video is the main structure and how I did it, a little bit of detailing, and mostly just the bricks, making this mausoleum look old basically. So without further ado, let's head to the table and I'll show you how I did this. Alright guys, so I did something I don't normally do, and that was I started by drawing out what I wanted. This really helped me with a lot of the sizes and the cuts that I needed to make, so I'll probably be doing that more often. So first thing, I started with the buttresses, and going by the drawing that I made, these are 1/2 inch wide by, I think it's 3/4 of an inch. I think I changed what I was doing here as I went, which is a good thing. 1/2 inch was a little too short. So then began to cut these out after I got them drawn on there, and it was just hand drawn. I didn't really pull out anything to make sure that these were perfect in any way, shape, or form. And once I got one of them cut out, I just used that as a template to make the rest of them. Now once they were all cut out, I needed to make them look older, so I took an X-Acto knife and I just started cutting off the edges. And after I was happy with the way they looked, rolled it over with a tinfoil ball just to give it a little bit more texture. Then it was time to do the brick pattern on the walls and the front, and I decided I was going to give Max DM's brick technique a try, which I'm not going to go over it in this video because it is not my technique. Go over to his page, he explains it pretty well. I like the way this turned out. I'll probably be using this more often. Now once all the brick pattern was drawn on, just go over it with an X-Acto knife and then run a toothpick through to separate the creases. Now I wanted to try to give these walls a little bit more depth, so I took a pencil and just started punching in random bricks until I was happy with the way it looked. Now once the bricks were done, it was time to start adding the doors and windows. I believe I wait till later in the video to show you the windows, but the door is basically the same thing as the windows. Just made a template out of some cardstock and then very roughly cut it out with a sharp X-Acto knife. Putting in the door and also some windows into this, so the cuts don't need to be perfect. They only need to be perfect at the edge of, or the front edge of the building. Now that that was done, I needed to add the buttresses before I could do the windows, so I could make sure that everything was centered. I made sure to only use half of the buttress on the edge of the walls, and this is going to help us hide that seam when we connect the front wall and the back walls to these side walls. Now time for the windows. Same as the door. Just put it where you want it, trace out a line, remove the template, cut them out. Now that I knew where everything was going to be, I could start removing bricks to start giving more depth to these walls and also age the building quite dramatically. Just took a sharp X-Acto knife and started pulling bricks out. And then, of course, attach it all together. Try to stay as flat as possible and keep the walls at the right angle that you need them to. Now once I had everything put together and it was where it was supposed to be, I could rough up the walls a lot more. Go in, pick out pieces, add cracks, just whatever you think looks cool, add it to the building. Then after the walls were all complete, it was time to add the roof. I just used some chipboard, laid the building on its top, and traced out the void space. Once I had the roof its size that I needed it, I needed to add something else. So I went in and cut some strips of chipboard to do like steel banding. And then to cap the roof, I used a 1/2-inch strip of cardstock or chipboard, and then just bent it in half and fit it on top of the building, super glued it in place. And then just the last bit is gluing in those strips that we just made. Start at one end and wrap them over the entire building. This will give like a good cohesive look to it instead of having a whole lot of cut pieces up there. So it all just kind of flows together. Alright guys, so there we have it. Our mausoleum is starting to come along really nice, and next week we'll dive into all the details and the painting, and we'll get this thing looking really awesome. Get to add it to my collection of terrain sitting over on my book stand. So anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give a thumbs up on it. If you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe. Definitely helps me out, keeps me going. Patreon supporters, thank you. I really appreciate the help that you guys give me. In the future, more things will be coming to my Patreon. I promise you guys that. It's just taken me a lot of time to do all of this stuff and do my full-time job on top of that. So anyways guys, hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you this time next week.